Tonight, we open the door to a time when death did not hide in shadows. It walked in daylight. It sat at dinner tables. It slept beside families. And it whispered into the ears of millions, "You are next." This is the story of the Black Plague, the disease that erased half of Europe. A killer so silent that no army could stop it. A darkness so deep that humanity needed centuries to recover from its scars. Sit close. This tale begins with a whisper and ends with the world on its knees. The year was 1347. In the Sicilian port of Messina, fishermen and merchants were preparing for a normal day when 12 ships drifted into the harbor. No signals, no greetings, only silence. At first, people thought the sailors were sleeping, but as a few brave locals climbed aboard, their world shattered. The decks were filled with corpses, bodies twisted in agony, skin blackened with swollen, bleeding boils. Some frozen in the position of their last breath, others with eyes open, staring at nothing. The survivors, barely alive, begged for help, but their voices were broken whispers from dying throats. These ships were not bringing goods. They were bringing the apocalypse. Within hours, chaos erupted. Families ran. Officials screamed at guards to push the ships back into the sea. But it was too late. Death had already entered Europe. People today say, a virus spreads fast, but they've never seen this. A cough, enough. A handshake, enough. Breathing the same air inside a market, enough. Within days, entire neighborhoods were coughing blood. Within weeks, entire cities were collapsing. The first sign seemed harmless. A fever, a headache. Then came the swellings, painful, egg-sized lumps under the armpits, neck, and groin. The skin around them turned black. Pus oozed from them. Some exploded open. People screamed from the pain, and then went silent forever. Doctors wrote in their journals, "We cannot keep up with the dead." Some victims died within 24 hours of their first symptom. Some died in the middle of prayer. Some died alone in locked homes while neighbors listened in terror. By spring of 1348, the plague swept through Italy, France, Spain, England, the German states, North Africa, and later, Asia and the Middle East. This was not a disease. It was an eraser. Imagine a city where every hour a new bell rings. Ding. Someone died. Ding. Another one. Ding. A child, a mother, a priest. The bells rang so often that people begged churches to stop because the sound alone drove them mad. In London, carts rolled down the streets every morning. The driver shouted, "Bring out your dead." Families placed the bodies of loved ones outside like garbage. Some couldn't lift them and left them on the floor for days, praying someone else would take them. In France, witnesses wrote, "We could not bury the dead fast enough. We threw them into pits, hundreds at a time. Mass graves filled so quickly that dirt barely covered the corpses. Wolves and stray dogs began digging them up. Some towns had no survivors. Empty houses, rotting food, silent streets. Travelers said it is as if the town never existed. The world had never seen death at this scale. With bodies everywhere, the panic grew. Cities hired men wearing strange, bird-like masks. These were the plague doctors. Long black cloaks, leather gloves, glass-covered eye holes, and the iconic long beaks stuffed with herbs, spices, and flowers. They believed the disease traveled through bad air. The herbs were meant to keep the bad smells away, because they thought that smell was the real killer. They carried long wooden canes so they wouldn't have to touch patients. Sometimes those canes were used to push infected people away, or to check if someone was dead. Their appearance terrified children. But ironically, these men, though poorly trained, were humanity's only doctors fighting the plague. No one could understand the disease. Medicine failed, churches failed, kings failed, and fear began to mutate. People blamed anything they could. Foreigners, travelers, strangers, different religions, the alignment of the planets, even cats and dogs, which were killed in the thousands, making the plague worse, because rats multiplied freely. Some believed God was punishing them. They walked through streets whipping themselves, hoping pain would buy forgiveness. Others believed supernatural forces were at work. Old manuscripts say, "We believed the end of the world had arrived," and honestly, it felt that way. While the plague destroyed populations, darker stories were happening in the shadows, stories rarely told in history books. 1. Parents abandoned sick children out of fear. There were cases where fathers ran away and left toddlers to die alone. 2. Some people locked themselves inside houses for a year. They sealed windows with cloth soaked in vinegar. They refused to open the door even when neighbors screamed for help. 3. Villages refused to allow travelers in, even if they were dying at the gate. Some were beaten for trying to enter. Some starved outside city walls. 4. Bandits looted homes openly, knowing most owners were dead. 5. Wealthy merchants fled to mountains, hoping height would save them. Some survived, most didn't. The plague didn't just kill bodies, it killed humanity's morals. Here is the strangest part. Not everyone died. A small percentage of population seemed almost immune. They got sick, but survived. Or never caught it all, even when living in infected houses. Historians and scientists believe these survivors carried a rare genetic mutation, a mutation that still exists today, which means if you're alive right now, there's a chance you are here because one of your ancestors survived the Black Plague. Your blood carries a victory won 700 years ago, a silent inheritance. By 1353, the nightmare slowly ended, but the world was different. Europe lost nearly half its population. Some regions lost 70%. Whole towns disappeared forever. With fewer workers, peasants suddenly had power. They could demand better wages. They could move and bargain. The foundation of modern labor rights began here, in the ashes of the plague. The church's power weakened too. People questioned faith after seeing priests die as easily as common men. Medicine changed as well. Doctors started using observation and study instead of superstition. The plague did not just kill, it redesigned society. It broke the old world and forced a new one to rise. The Black Plague is long gone, but its shadow remains. It shaped economics, medicine, religion, cities, wealth distribution, human migration, genetics, and even our modern fear of disease. We live in a world built by survivors, a world built from the bones of millions who never saw the sun rise again. Their tragedy became our history, and their deaths became our future. The Black Plague didn't just kill millions. It rewrote humanity. It taught us how fragile we truly are, and how quickly everything can collapse. Thank you for watching Dark Tales HD. If you want more journeys into the darkest corners of history, subscribe and join me again, because the next tale is even darker.